And we're live. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? We got two games on a Monday night, and we got ourselves some Tuesday night football this week. Is there a Thursday night game?
I don't think so. No, because there's a Tuesday game, like you said. I don't think there's a Thursday game.
I didn't look. I said it'd be nice to get football 1, 2, 3, like 4 out of 5 days, but I guess we can't be overly greedy. Either way, though, we're here to break down the two-game slate, talk it over. If you guys want to play the showdown, we get it. We prefer the two-game slate, so that's where we're going to put our money tonight.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Game.
Nice. It's going to be a good week. What is it?
Man, this is an interesting game. Patriots at Rams.
All right. Well, I will take some Thursday night football and be happy about it. Look forward to talking to you guys all again on Thursday about that one. And obviously, we'll be back tomorrow to talk about the Tuesday game. So a nice, solid week of football this week. If you can, subscribe to the station if you're new to it. Thumbs up is always appreciated. Let's go through the two-game slate. Before we do, a couple of quick things to bring up. We still got the sales rolling on the NBA package. 2 spots left still, guys. The PayPal and Venmo address are below. Half price still for the NBA package. Before we bump it up, we'll give away those last 2 spots and move on. The rest of the regular season and the playoffs available for NFL for only $49. Use the PayPal or Venmo address below, and you will be ready to rock. And don't forget about our show sponsor, Overlay Fantasy Sports. Hopefully some of you guys had a good day yesterday. Your boy Baker Mayfield went off, making my featured pick not great, as I was a big fan of Chubb, who was all right, but Baker Mayfield was amazing yesterday. I know he was your GPP play. That one worked out real well. But the matchup shop on Overlay has been fire. The NFL picks are awesome. NBA is coming out soon. This is a great time to sign up and play. The name of the website is overlaydfs.com. If you haven't tried the matchup shop yet, you don't know what you're missing out on.
I'm hyped for NBA matchup shop. I can tell you that for sure.
Yes, very, very much hyped. Matchup shop NBA is coming soon. I cannot wait.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. So the quarterback position is not one that we are very strong on our opinions on it. I know we had mentioned and talked over Nick Mullins. We went through Josh Allen. I think at the end of the day, we kind of agreed that Big Ben makes about as much sense as anybody, price considered. The questionable tag is more of a maintenance thing. It doesn't really seem like it's a real issue. If you want to take something away from the fact he practiced only limited this week, okay, fine. But it didn't seem like it was a major issue. So it's not something I'm personally concerned about. You got Big Ben at home. That's always been a thing. And something that you mentioned during the members only video that you like a lot was, I didn't think the game against the Ravens was that bad, but Mike Tomlin apparently did. So they had a nice week of practice, and they want to bounce back right here after what they took as kind of an embarrassing win. And the only thing good came out of it was the fact that they actually won the game.
So I think that's the best way to put it. And that's kind of how I meant it on our members only video when we made it. Really makes no difference how I thought, it was for them or how you thought it was for them. All that matters is how Tomlin and they thought it was. They seemed to have been genuinely pissed off at their performance. Yeah, they got a win, but they hold themselves to a higher standard. I've heard that mentioned a bunch. Expect a good effort from the Steelers today. There's only 2 games. It's easy to see the Steelers being the top offense on the slate. And as you mentioned, Big Ben at home, always a thing. A lot to like here, especially when considering the lack of other options.
Yeah, if you like Josh Allen today, get it. I mean, he's the best DFS quarterback on the slate. We just don't love the spot against San Francisco today, but can completely understand why you would use him instead.
A lot of the cases that you can make for Ben Roethlisberger, like you can make for Josh Allen, not the same cases, but just in the sense there's only 2 games. Like you just mentioned, he's really good. So, of course, we get that.
All right, next up. So let's talk about J.D. McKissick of the Washington football team. So in an optimal lineup, probably not the guy that I would use at running back, but running back is not strong today. And so while I would prefer JD in the GPP mold, I can understand why you would use him in any type of format. So this goes back to the classic line that's been developed and utilized and heavily talked about lately is tell yourself a story about how you think this game works out. If you think the Steelers play real well today and get a nice lead early on, well, then I think you should take a look at J.D. McKissick. The last 2 games, he has been an afterthought. But as we have discussed for the last 2 games, those were Gibson games. Why? Because Washington was the better football team playing. They were supposed to get up, they were supposed to win the game, and they were supposed to run the ball. That is not the case today. The case is they're supposed to be behind. Doesn't mean it works out that way, but they should be. And in that situation, the last 2 times we saw them get down early, he had 29 targets over a 2-game span. And if you think that is the case today, against a Steelers team with a hellacious pass rush, look for Washington to utilize short dump-off passes to J.D. McKissick.
Yeah, listen, I think the best point is the story point. We've talked about it a bunch recently, but this is definitely a game where if you tell yourself how you think it's going to play out, you could easily see Washington falling behind. If you think the other way, take your shot on Gibson. I'm sure that he's going to be very low owned. Both of us kind of have the same opinion about this game here. McKissick is in a good spot. The price difference between them is, probably the largest it's been in the past month. A couple weeks ago, these guys were basically the same price. Gibson's had a couple really good game scripts that have played well for him. Could easily see the opposite today. And I think McKissick will outscore him, not even on a dollar per dollar basis, but just on a raw points level.
All right, next up, Raheem Mostert of the San Francisco 49ers, 5,800. So first things first, the Bills probably have the weakest defense on the slate. You can make some arguments with Washington. Fine, I'll listen to those arguments. But the Bills' defense, I don't think it's terrible. But as far as the defenses they're matched up against today, I think it's the weakest one on the slate. And most specifically, they're weakest against the running back position, giving up the 8th most DFS points out of 32 teams to the running backs this year. Well, this is a big game for the 49ers. No matter what you think about how these teams play today, you can't change the fact that San Francisco basically needs to win out. So they got to win this game. They're going to want to establish the run. They are a running football team. Their quarterback is Nick Mullins. So even if you thought they weren't a running football team before, which we all did, they definitely want to be a running football team now. And they got their best running back back. Not that you won't see some Jeff Wilson or Jerick McKinnon or maybe some Tevin Coleman, but this guy gets the majority of the carries. He's their best running back. He looked good last week. He can just flat out run the ball. And I think the price tag is more than fair.
He's just flat out good. Like, he's really good. I think he's one of the best pure runners in the NFL. He's not the best. He reminds me of how Nick Chubb runs, though. Like, I think he's really good. Best running back on the slate. A game that I know you expect to be really close. Good spot for San Francisco to get a win. Another win as they push for the playoffs. They're certainly not out of it. I'm with you. Like, he's the top running back on the slate. Running back's pretty weak, tonight. He stands out in a game that should be competitive, man. I mean, the only thing not to love is that they got a couple guys that they work in, but he's still their main guy.
You still expect him to get like 60% of the touches.
Yeah, something like that.
All right, next up, Deonte Johnson. So as per standard operating procedure when it comes to the Steelers, they have 3 wide receivers, and any one of them can be the best option for that day. Price is not a big deal today. So all things considered, Johnson is our favorite guy because he's a target monster. Also, Washington's not a great football team. They're firmly in that mediocre stage, but the best thing that they do is rush the passer. So I expect them to utilize a lot of these quick passes they get out to Deonte Johnson. And if you like this, which is something we both like, he played poorly last game. He had at least 2, maybe 3 drop balls. So I expect him to bring his A game today.
Yeah, I definitely expect his A game. He's really good. He's one of the best PPR wide receivers in football, especially in this spot with a good quarterback on a good team, with a good O-line, et cetera. Man, if it weren't for, Juju and Claypool, if you only had like one of those guys there, be talking about Johnson as his numbers would probably be up there as one of the best receivers in football this year. Even still, he's having a really good year despite missing a couple games. I agree. We mentioned it on our members only video. Expect a nice bounce back performance from the Steelers as a whole, but from Johnson specifically here, who had a bad case of the dropsies. I like him a lot.
All right. Last up, Deebo Samuel, 13 targets in his first game back last week. Had a great game against a much harder defense in the Los Angeles Rams. What I like about him is the 49ers use him in a lot of different creative ways. He's really, really good. We made some comparisons and talked about him throughout the members only video. He's a focal point of the offense. I think San Fran plays well today, and they don't have a ton of options on offense of who's going to get involved, but their pecking order very, very clear. And, outside of the running game, Deebo Samuel is the pecking order at wide receiver.
No doubt about it. This isn't like disagreeing with you, but it's so weird to see like the Bills as though probably the weakest D on the slate. Do you agree?
It is. And again, they're not like a bad defense. This is not like trying to run it on my Green Bay Packers or basically the Titans overall or anything like that. It's just that I have a lot of respect for the 49ers defense. They've gotten healthier. They play hard. They're going to play hard today. The Steelers have arguably the best defense in football. And Washington's defense, very good pass rush. But if you wanted to make arguments that the Bills are better than Washington, I could listen. It's just a defensive-oriented game day here.
I think Buffalo definitely has a better defensive backfield than does Washington, but they're front
for sure
them a lot. Do you still feel like that the Buffalo's D could potentially be better than they've played, or is that
Maybe?
Like, I mean, at this point though, like you are who you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, we're in week 14 next week. Like, you are who you are.
Yeah, it's we've looked at them as like a good defense in a good number of years in recent memory. I don't think of them as a good defense. I don't think they're bad. I just think they're firmly in that mold of average, which with a couple of good defenses playing today, they're right there as being average, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I definitely think that the Steelers are obviously the top D on the slate. San Fran's gotten a little bit healthier. If they were completely healthy, I mean, they would rival Pittsburgh as the top D on the slate.
Yeah, I mean, they were the best defense in football last year, so a lot of injuries changed that, but they gotten a few guys back now and they're playing better.
Mm-hmm, no doubt.
So that's what we got today, guys. Website link is below, so are the PayPal and Venmo addresses. We got NBA coming up really, really soon, and I cannot wait for that. And I'm going to venture a guess that a bunch of you guys are in the same boat on that one because daily sports just makes me happier, especially when everything is closed down around here and I can't go anywhere and it's cold out.
You are a smart man. I agree.
Yeah. Thank you. I know you didn't completely mean that, but I'll take it like you did, and it'll feel really good for the rest of the day.
Yeah, it's funny. I just want to say this real quick. We started the day, I don't even know if this was on video or not, by you asking me about, the Jets and if that was like called down. You were kind of being facetious, but we were talking about that. Did you see they fired Greg Williams like just recently? So,
No.
yeah, I guess the clear, man, I read a stat about that play. It was like the only time ever in the past like 20 years that, team has run a defense like that in that situation. It just made no sense.
Yeah. If to clarify what I was mostly joking around about, but the conspiracy theorist side of me is like, maybe, like, did they tank that game on purpose? Because apparently there is a guy that everybody wants with the number one overall pick. And if you win no games like the Jets seem to be set up to do, you have a really good chance to get the number one pick.
I mean, listen, I don't think they did that, but you're right. Like, the number one pick this year, Trevor Lawrence, I mean,
It means a lot.
Yeah, he's in the mold of like Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning, John Elway. Like, he's that next guy. So
this is not like the NBA draft that we just went through where like you can make arguments. I mean, it's been called tanking for Trevor for what, like 2 years now?
Yeah, exactly. And it's not even like it would be like if it was LeBron almost. But like even in the NBA with the lottery, you can't even do that. So I agree that it's like probably in the back of a lot of their minds, they're not happy. They're not mad they lost. I'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, when we saw two bad football teams yesterday blow games. I mean, we saw the Texans fumble it when they were like,
oh my God. Well, who was the other one? Chicago?
No, I say the Jets. Well, the Chicago's a bad football team, but Chicago wanted that game. Like, that's the difference. Like, the Texans like have no motivation to win. Like, they're out of it. Like, it doesn't hurt to lose another football game, right? It's better for you probably long term.
Well, it will be for Chicago too if you put it like that.
At this point, like Chicago's not doing anything. That's a sad, sad loss.
Well, the thing is, the difference is like Chicago. Their coach, he'll probably lose his job now. That's definitely a game where like you will circle and be like, you can't lose that game. And Anthony Lynn, I'm shocked he's still.
How is he not fired yet? I assumed he'd be fired when I woke up this morning.
Like, listen, losing that game is not like the end of the world. It was like a pick'em spread. I mean, whatever. But like to get rolled like that at home, errors all over the field. I mean, they just got to make the move. They got to rip it off.
I tweeted after that game was done yesterday that you can't lose a close game if the game's not close. And I was just like, who's going to be the first one that's going to reply to me with the Eddie Murphy meme picture of like, yeah, you can't lose a close game if the game's not close, because that's exactly what I was thinking. I just assumed he'd be fired like when I woke up this morning, and it still might come today because, like, to me, that is like inexcusable. You give up 45 points, but to a team that only threw for 60 yards.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, like, just got outclassed, outplayed, outcoached at every position. Pathetic.
Like, I'm not salty because I had Austin Eckler and he didn't do anything yesterday because I still won easy. So, like, I wasn't winning GPPs if Austin Eckler went off, so my day wasn't changing. I just thought that was pathetic.
Same.
So, anyways, guys, that about does it for the day. We will see you back. Actually, I might do a cash lineup review a little bit later, but we'll see you back here tomorrow, and we'll have plenty to talk about with the Tuesday football game.
Cool. Thanks, guys.